price. When I am designing an app, when I am designing anything, it should be lower price for the customer. So for example, they wanted to have a warehouse, whether they should invest in a warehouse, or outsource the warehouse concept, right? Similarly, the product delivery, whether they should outsource or they should own their delivery process. So what they should do is customer experience is one of their strength, right? They want to make sure that customer really experience it should be really high. They should not feel bad, about the product delivery, product breakage. Those problems should not come. So customer experience is an essential part of Amazon. So in that case, they cannot outsource that process, the warehousing process or delivery process. They should own their, they should invest in their delivery process as well as warehousing process. So from the customer centric point, the user centric thought process, no, it tells them to invest in the warehouse, invest in the delivery process, right? They cannot outsource. So that is how a design thinking helps you to define your business process as well as what and all the business decision making, right? So the 5 pillars of design thinking process, if you take, what are the main 5 pillars? It's almost like a process only, but the main 5 pillars are user centric. You have to think as a user, from the user perspective. You need to think whatever it is, and then this is a highly creative process, right? This problem is when you are trying to solve a problem, you need to generate solutions. For this solution, generating solutions, we use creativity tools, right? So you might have come across lateral thinking process and other process. So it is a highly creative field. You have to come with tens of solutions, right? It's not just one solution. You have to come with 5 to 10 solutions. Each solution has to be different from each other. So we use generally creativity tools for that. So it's a highly creative field. And sensorial in the sense, we are not going to write a text and present our idea. It should be visual. It could be visual or auditory or touch. You touch and feel it. Somewhere talks to your senses, 5 senses, right? So the solution should talk visually, and the reason why it should be visual or it should be targeting your senses, I'll explain it in the later stage. And it's very iterative. Just you make one idea, then you take it and launch it. No, whatever problem you are going to solve, you have to you arrive at a solution. You make a prototype, right? You make a prototype, you test it, and then again you have to modify it. You should not be taking the first solution and then you make a prototype, take it to the market, or you present it to a manager. No, you have to make some 3-4 iterations, minimum some iterations you need to make. You have to modify the concept. You have to fine tune the concept, which we call it tweaking, right? So it is an iterative. The design thinking, that is a one big difference between other problem solving methods and design thinking. You will keep on iterating at least a minimum some number of times till it gets to a stage where it looks good, right? Even if you are writing a blog, just first idea you wrote a blog, you are not going to immediately launch it. Okay, you have to make some changes. You have to keep iterating, and you give it to some users, some of your friends to read, get a feedback, what they feel, whether they are getting bored, how they are doing. Instead of asking, you need to observe and get the feedback and change. So that is your design thinking process, iterative and prototyping. So the main process, if you see, the first thing, client approaches me with he want to design a mixie, right? He comes with me, I want to design a mixer grinder with so many features. He tells me immediately what happens. I won't take it, whatever as he says, I won't take it. I just understand what is the target market, who are his customers. Then I go and study the customers. That is the empathize phase. This is a user research phase. So this is a critical one. If you make a mistake in this phase, what happens? The whole process goes waste, right? So in this problem solving phase, empathize is the critical phase, and you try to live like a user. You be a user, and you understand the problem from their perspective. What are the pain points? Everything. What are their desires? What are their needs? What are their emotional elements involved in using the product? And you understand everything, and then you collect insights, right? Once you collect the insights, that is the defined stage. Whatever the research data you got, you will divide into qualitative and quantitative phase. Qualitative is something subjective, right? It should look good. The product should look good. The product should look something, talk to your emotional mind, or it should feel good. Texture should, give a feeling of skin, child skin, that kind of feeling it should give. You cannot quantify that, but so those are all qualitative constraints. And quantitative constraints, you will come across the size should be this much. No, you can quantify the dimension. And a person holding this, it should use a short person can use the product, a taller person should use the product. So the screen position, or what height the screen should be positioned. So these are the things like, qualitative. So here we specify whatever the research we have done. Based on that, we quantify as well as qualify the specifications and constraints. Based on these specification constraints, we start generating ideas, right? The solutions, whatever solutions you generate, you again check with your specifications and constraints, whether it is meeting that, right? Whatever the research output you got, whether the product idea, whatever idea you got, every idea you will equate it, right? Once you are fine with that idea, this idea is meeting all the specifications constraints. It also will include your cost constraints also. It has to meet everything. Once that idea meets everything, then you go to for prototype, right? You check, you make a prototype and you test it to the user, right? You get a feedback, whether the user is finding it easy to use, whether the number of steps involved in using the product has come down, whether the time, whether it saves time. Everything you check. If the user is finding it difficult to use, if he cannot understand how to use a product, then you take your idea back, you make modifications, you come back. If a user is taking more time to use the product, and is finding it some other difficulties, then again you take your idea back, iterate it, and you come back. In the meantime, if I'm designing a mixie, it also has to be manufacturable, right? All this manufacturability, everything will be in the definition stage itself. The defined stage itself, you would have made everything, the cost, everything. So the product also matches all those things. Then finally you go for launching the product. So this is the design thinking process. Product, it could be an app, it could be a physical product, anything, right? Anything, we use the same design thinking process. So the first stage, which is a critical stage, is empathize. Empathize. We think, we'll make a survey, go to user, ask, hey, whether you have this problem or not. No, we will not ask questions like that. Not directly, we will not ask anything, because if you ask them what is your problem, they'll tell some other problem, right? There is a famous quote from Henry Ford. If I asked my customer what does he want, he would have told me that he wanted a faster horse, right? With a faster horse, if you ask questions like that, you are going to design a horse. You will think only how to make this horse go faster, whether I can increase, food, anything I change, or I'll add some certain exercise for the horse. Your thinking process will go in a different way, right? So you have to observe the users, right, in their natural context. That is what we do. What we do is we set some video or something, and we just follow customers, shadow, we say. We just go behind them, understand what they are doing, how they are struggling. You observe them, you get a lot of points, because sometimes the customers themselves don't know what are their problems, right? When till Steve Jobs launched his iPhone, no, we never knew that we needed a touch screen phone, right? So that is what there will be some hidden needs, right? So you need to understand, oh, this is their hidden needs, this is what they wanted. They might get frustrated when you follow them. Now you can see some places they get frustrated by using the product. So those are the pain points. So those things a customer may not think that those are their pain points, but when you offer a solution, they'll understand. So this is what they do. Similarly, we ask open-ended questions in an interview process, where we'll ask them to explain certain things instead of asking them, what jewelry, whichever jewelry they have, which jewelry they like. We ask them, when you go to marriage, what kind of objects you wear, and or no, some other scenarios, different scenarios. We'll ask what are the things they wear in many things. So what are the reasons behind wearing those jewelry? From there, we indirectly can try to figure out what are their likes, dislikes, why they dislike certain things. That is how, even if you work in a company or something, you want to understand a manager, your colleagues, you ask, you observe them and find out what they like, dislike, need, and you your solution, whatever you want to influence them or you want to convince them for your idea, you will project in such a way that it matches with their likings, dislikings, and needs, right? So empathize is a critical part in problem solving. So I'll just give some examples how user thinking has helped some clients in solving their problem. In 1950s, Honda wanted to enter the US market, Honda bikes, right? They in Japan, their target was middle class people. They were so their 50cc bikes, people used it for very short trips, to go to the shops, buy some errands. For that, that bike was very good. So, but in US in 1950s, Harley Davidson was selling bikes of 350cc, 400cc, or higher capacity bikes. The customers were people who are going for longer trips, right? They go long distance trips. So for them, they needed the bikes. So Honda also, when entering, instead of looking at customers, they looked at competitors. Oh, Harley Davidson was selling 350cc bikes, so we will also sell 350cc bikes. So they started. They launched 350cc bikes, 400cc bikes in the market, and they were not reliable because they are not experienced in manufacturing 350cc bikes. So they were comfortable in selling 50cc bikes. They were very good at 50cc bikes, right? So suddenly when they launched the 350cc bikes, the bikes were no, they were getting broken. The repair, there was leakage. A lot of issues. The customers whoever bought those bikes, they faced problems. They could not go for a long trips. They got frustrated. In the first year, Honda could sell only 1,300 bikes, right? They were not the marketing people who stayed in US. They found it very hard. They sent all the bikes back to Japan. They told them, please make it rugged and trustworthy. It should come for at least 1 or 2 years. It should not break down. Make it like that. They sent. In the meantime, the Honda people who stayed in US, they started using these 50cc bikes for going to the shops for short trips and all. No, they have to buy certain things from the shops. They started using the bikes, and people in their town where they stayed, they started seeing these bikes. They asked them, hey, we also want a bikes, something like this, because several people want a small bike to go for a short trips nearby the shops and office. They wanted. They never had a solution. Now Honda came across this population who are not like who are not like looking for a 350cc bikes. There's a big population because they found out, because they lived like a customer among the customers. When they lived like a customer among the customers, they understood, oh, these are the issues. So instead of selling a 350cc bike, what these people need is 50cc bikes. So what happened? These Honda people, they convinced their management in Japan. They told them to let's sell 350cc bikes, right? So they launched the 50cc bikes within 1 year, right? They sold almost 2.5 lakhs cc 50cc bikes. It was a big explosion. They never expected that they could do like that. So they could succeed because they lived among their customers, who would use their product. As they were using a product like their customers, the customers found it like this. It's much more useful. They also started using it. And there was another case study. There was a milkshake shop, right? They were selling milkshakes. They found it very difficult to sell. They started, they did some user research. Then what happened? They thought, based on the user research, they got a feedback. They asked the users, how will you like your milkshake? Some said, I want a thicker one. Some people said, I want a sweeter one. I wanted another one said fruits. So they, based on the research, based on the questions that they asked the customers, they made shakes thicker with more fruits, with more sugar and everything. They compared also with the competitors. So they were also making the similar milkshakes. They thought, okay, now the milkshake will sell more. They launched the new milkshake, but the sales they never took off. The same, it remained constant. They were like, what? We did some user research. We asked the questions what they need, and we made it. But why it's not selling? Then they approached a designer, right? The designers, they don't go ask questions like this. So what they did is they just stayed there in the shops and observed the customers. how customers are buying, why, what are the reasons behind the buying, at what time customers are buying, like that, and whoever is buying, they went behind them to find out why they are buying it and what they are trying to do with the milkshake, the reasons. So one observation, a couple of observations they made. One of the observation is most of the milkshakes, almost 50% of milkshakes are sold in the morning. So the customers who are buying are office goers, right? Around 8 o'clock they come, they are in a hurry, those customers are in a hurry, they buy a milkshake and they take it. So why they are buying the milkshake? When they did the research, it is like, they have a 2 hours commute to their office. 8 o'clock they start, 10 o'clock only they are reaching the office. In between, at 8 o'clock they are not hungry, but around 10 o'clock when they reach office, they will be very hungry and they won't have time to go have a breakfast. So on the way they want to eat something while driving the car, because it's also a boredom, right? And while driving, only one of their hand is free, the other hand is on the steering. So they're actually, the milkshake is a substitute for some kind of light breakfast, right? It is not fighting with other milkshakes. Earlier, the company owners and the other people, marketing people, they were comparing the milkshake with other milkshakes because they thought their milkshake is competing with other milkshakes. But here the milkshake is competing with it. For example, the morning commute, they are hungry, they can take a sandwich, but the sandwich, if they eat, the hands get messy and it spoils their dress and the steering wheel. So that is the reason why they are thinking, no, milkshake is better. Another thing, they can take donuts or something. Again, donuts also, the hands get messy, right? Banana, they can take a banana. Again, it's not much comfortable to eat. So milkshake was serving that purpose, right? And another thing is, it could your hands won't get dirty, and at the same time you are hungry. You can, to some extent, you can manage your hunger. Now, for this customer, what would be the best solution to make them buy more instead of considering any other option, milkshake, to make them buy more and let them refer more customers? What should we do? We know that these customers are in hurry. Okay, so how will you help them? How will you solve a much more problem? So what happened? The designers suggested you make it a self no a kiosk. Make a kiosk. The customer, no, you save their time. Let them come quickly. They are in a hurry. Don't wait for them to make a bill, select everything. They know, you just put a kiosk. Within a few seconds they can take a milkshake, whatever they want, and take it. So that solves another problem, right? You are making them very loyal. And another thing, you want the people, no, you know that they are buying it to as a breakfast option. So why can't you make the milkshake thicker, right? Instead of liquid, a thicker milkshake, they can stretch it for a longer time, they can drink it for a longer time. And plus, why can't you add small no amount of fruits, you add extra amount of fruits, because it's a healthy breakfast they can have. They will also feel happy. And when they added all these things, the sales increased very well, because it's also healthy. Now they may add fruits and other things here. And similarly, in the afternoon session, they saw the parents are bringing kids, right? They would have promised something, but they are bringing kids for a milkshake. But one problem is, the parents are also in a hurry, but the kids are taking too much time to drink it, because it's a bigger containers, right? It's for adults. So you can solve this problem, right? How? You can have a smaller size containers for, particularly for kids in the evening. At the same time, it can be thick. It need not be thicker, right? It can be thinner milkshake. So that what happens, the kids can finish it fast, and you are solving the kids problem as well as your parents problem. So that way they have another option they had. So this is how, when you do a proper user research, you could solve a different problems for a customer, and that way you could increase sales. The same thing for any other problem, you think from the users what they are trying to do, and you try to solve it like that. From there itself you get a solution. And one of the reasons why Starbucks was successful was, the Starbucks owner, Howard Hughes, he used to sit in a shop and observe customers. That is how he solved a lot of problems. No, he made it friendly. Right, he saw that in the afternoon, mothers and kids come. So how can you make the environment so friendly for mothers and the kids? So what kind of music you should play, what kind of drinks should help. And the morning, the same thing he observed. Office goers are coming. How to make it easy for the office goers to come and take a coffee and go. And so they invented a machine where at the same time, at a time, you can make 10 coffees immediately. So those kind of innovations. Similarly, at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, he saw retired people are coming to the coffee shop to chat with their friends. So what kind of environment we should give, what kind of music we should play, what kind of food we should give for them, people who are retired people. So these kind of things, when we did considering each and every user segment and their pain points, when he observed them, he customized everything. So that made the difference. That was the reason why Starbucks grew and other coffee shops didn't grow that much, right? And ideation, next in the design thinking, the biggest advantage we have is we use a lot of creativity tools, right, to make concepts. Each concept, like any problem you take, at least we'll make 10 concepts or 20 concepts we'll make. Though we might present to the client only 2 concepts or 3 concepts, but internally we make 20 or 30 concepts, and each concept will be different from each other, which will meet, right? Even a mixie will sketch completely different concepts. We get inspiration from some other place. Each inspiration will be different, and then we present it to the 1 or 2 concepts to present to the client. Almost 10 concepts when we make also small prototypes to check how it looks good. Out of that, only 2 to 3%. So whatever the problem you're trying to solve, you need to generate multiple solutions. That is how you reach the earlier solutions. The first 1 or 2 solutions which you get is a logical solution which anybody can think. But if you continuously, after the gap, you try to generate more solutions, leave a gap of 2 to 3 days, go back, keep thinking about it, you will get more solutions, and you can use a lot of creativity tools. So we use creativity tools a lot of several creativity techniques are there, which we initially we have been using that. Later it became a habit, and now as soon as we get a problem, immediately our mind wanders in a different direction to generate ideas. Some of the ideas is a Scamper creativity tool is there. Scamper is right, SCAMPER. So S is for substitute. Suppose I am designing a comb, right? The comb which I am designing, substitute. Can I substitute a part of the comb with some other material, right? So that is, I get another idea, a wooden comb with the metal, this one. So that's a substitute, or something else you substitute, right? I am designing a juice product for for a customer. So instead of juice can be in a liquid form, can it be instead of in a solid form? I give it like a crystals, so like a solid crystal. So let them put it in a water, it becomes a juice, right? It's a substitute. So in the Scamper creativity tool, when I use, the first is substitute. Next is combine. Can I combine? If I'm designing a comb, can I combine comb with something else? Maybe water bottle. I'm thinking of water bottle concept. Instead of water bottle, maybe I can I can store a little bit of water or oil in the comb itself. So when I comb, automatically the oil or water, just sprinkles there on my hair, it can wet my hair. So that's an idea, right? When I combine some of the things. So this is how I get ideas, different ideas for the product. Uh, so Scamper is again adapt, modify. Modify is, can I modify the end of the comb in a different way? So like this, when I use a creativity tool, I get completely drastic different ideas which I cannot think in the logical way, right? So Scamper is one creativity tool. Another tool is there is a word po. Po is provocative question, right? You ask some provocative question. So for example, I'm designing a speaker. I will ask a question, why can't speakers fly? Speakers won't fly, right? It's a provocative question. You just ask something different, completely wild question you ask. Why can't it fly? So if it has to fly, what flies, right? And then immediately I get an idea. Helicopter flies, right? Why can't my speaker have a fan at the top or something rotating thing, right? When it rotates, some kind of light, as long as when it plays, some kind of light, it rotates also, some blinking light, it keeps rotating, it creates a different environment, it creates a different mood for me. So suddenly the speaker becomes a non-living object too. It becomes a object which changes its mood lighting. It shows a different kind of mood lighting for me, right? So those kind of ideas. So suddenly you can get idea from a flying helicopter, some elements from a helicopter you think, and then you add it in your product. The speaker concept itself, the idea itself changes. So that is one creativity tool. There's another creativity tool, reversal technique, which we use. A reversal technique, for example, I want to design a customer service, right? I want to increase my customer service experience, customer experience. I have a call center, right? So the reversal technique is, how can I, instead of no, I want to make a customer happy. That is my for that I need to generate ideas. The reversal technique is, how can I make customer angry? So what are the things which I do? I'll make the customer angry. Then what you do when I take a call? I no, I talk a bit angry. The customer, the representative talks a bit angry or didn't respond properly, he gets angry. So here you need to talk softly to your customer. That is an idea you get, right? When the customer asks something, you don't respond properly. So when you look at from the reversal perspective, you go opposite, you generate ideas opposite. If I want to design a soap box, right? Somebody is asking me, some client has asked me to design a soap box. So soap box function is hold a soap, right? It has to hold it. Now I apply a reversal technique. Instead of holding a soap, why can't soap hold a soap holder, right? Right, soap holder is holding the soap, but I'm reversing the technique. Now why can't soap hold the holder itself? Then I get a different idea. My soap can have four, kind of the soap itself. I can mold it instead of, I don't need a soap holder itself. The soap itself can function as a holder, right? It can just stay above the surface. Four small pillars I can add. So completely different. That's a reversal technique. It gives a different idea for you. Like that, there are several creativity techniques. One is analogy technique. Analogy technique is you look at something else. For example, my HOD is there. So like one HOD is there, right? Every day he get a lot of files. He had to look into a lot of files. The files gets accumulated every day. So many files come to him for checking, verification. He had to do. So now the analogy is, he thinks himself as a traffic policeman, right? From that traffic policeman, he is going to get an idea to solve the problem of these files. So many files are piling up in his desk. How to solve that? What traffic policeman, what he does whatever vehicles coming in from the left, he diverts to the right side or the perpendicular direction. Similarly, from the other direction, vehicles coming, he diverts the vehicles from his in his place. So there is no pile up at his junction. So what this guy did is, the files he started moving from this place to another place, another person. Some files he moved to another person. Certain files he moved to the another department. Like that, what happens? He started moving it. So from the traffic policeman, he got that idea. So this is analogy, right? Similarly, a lot of product design, we take it from for example, you look at the nature, some seed, from seed, how the plant grows. From there, you get an idea for a product. Oh, okay, my product could go like this. Some texture, the texture you get from some leaves, that texture I could implement in my product, the feeling. So this is like analogy, how certain process happens, a photosynthesis process happens in the nature. That concept, I take it and use it in another product in the way, I can have like a pores kind of thing through the pores, like a tomato, how you see in a plant through tomato, I can, the air enters through that and it goes inside. So that kind of mechanical concept, I can make it in the product. So that is the analogy. And then when we have one of the biggest advantages of design thinking is, whatever idea you have to convince people about your idea. You might be an entrepreneur, or you might be working in a company, or you are now studying in a college. You have some idea, you have to convince your friends, or you have to convince your teacher, everything. Instead of, when we present our idea, we just talk in words. We just, in your presentation, a lot of words instead of images, right? That is not how you convince people, right? To convince people, most of the people, the research shows only our emotional mind takes decision, not our rational mind. Whatever we talk, explain, you are talking to the rational mind. In the rational mind never takes decisions. In that way, you cannot convince people. You need to talk to their emotional mind. And emotional mind is connected through the shortcut to your emotional mind is your senses, your auditory senses, your visual, your touch, your smell, everything. So these five senses, only through these five senses, your concept idea has to enter the mind. So designers, whenever they present an idea, they visually they show the product, or they through sound they explain the concept. I mean, audio or something, music, and similarly they make you to touch the product and feel it, right? So that is how they do. For example, a few years back, Disney Animal Kingdom, they wanted to launch one designer. No, he was trying to talk to CEOs. The company CEO Eisner was there that time CEO. He was telling him, for Animal Kingdom we need live animals, but none of the CEO as well as the other board members were. They were all against this idea. No, we don't want a live animals in Animal Kingdom. No live animals. We are not encouraging. He tried to convince them so much. What are the benefits? He told these are the benefits. You could save this much money. You could get this much revenue. All these things are talking to your rational mind, right? The figures you say, this much profits, everything. There's no emotional connection there. So one day, what he did is. He booked an appointment with CEO and he went inside the CEO. And he told, I want to show you one thing. Okay, the CEO got ready. Okay, let me show. There was a nearby door next to the CEO. He opened the door and allowed some tall tiger. When the tiger came near to the CEO and just did that brr sound, the CEO got a shock, because that visual, no, it's a live tiger that spoke directly to your emotional mind. Then he understood the feeling. Okay, live animals will create a big difference. That too, this much big animals are people seeing at the very close by. The feeling is completely different. It is talking to emotional mind. The customers will come back immediately. They will go and talk about your product or service to the other customers. The CEO understood that, right? Instead of spending hours, they immediately this much talking to your emotional mind made that possible. Similarly, another person in one of his company, he saw several departments are there. They were all wasting a lot of money in buying materials. He wanted to reduce the purchase cost. People are spending a lot of money in purchasing things, all essential items, but there is a big problem there. He wanted to tell them, right? People are buying a different from a same material, same product. They are buying from a different vendors at a different cost. He tried to tell them. He understood that talking to them like that will not work. So what he did is he and his assistant started collecting one particular product, gloves. Right, from every department he collected gloves. Every department was purchasing gloves from several vendors, right? He bought those gloves and he assembled it visually in front in a big board, right? When he called everyone to see them, when they came, they saw a big board with so different types of gloves, right? They were shocked. Oh, this many gloves we are buying, one company. And each glove, then they saw the same gloves, different department is buying in a higher price and the another department is buying in a much lower price, right? So now this is a visual, within 1 second they could see visually so many different types of gloves they were buying. That created an impact. Then they understood the problem, right? So then they stopped. What happened? They put up one person to buy for all the departments. So that way they could save money instead of buying so many different types and wasting so much resources. They changed everything. So instead of getting a presentation, telling a cost, price, everything, this visual, representation that spoke to the emotional mind. It's easy to convince people everything, right? So one of the story, there's one more story which Walt Disney in 1930s, he was making some short animation films, right? So those short animation films, he has been making it, was making it for more than 10 years. He got bored. He wanted to make a feature film in 1930s, in a feature film, that too animated feature film. Nobody has done that, right? People like, nobody will accept that idea. You are going to 10 minutes, people can watch some that laughing comedy, right? How can people laugh for 1.5 hours movie, right? It is not going to work. And making an animation film is very expensive. On 1930s, it's not easy. Nobody has tried, right? It is not easy to convince people whatever the idea he wanted. Instead of just telling that this is what the story, this is what Snow White and Seven Dwarfs I going to make. Instead of that, what he did is he asked his one day evening, he asked his all his teammates to go have a nice dinner and come. Once they came inside, he called them to a stadium, I mean auditorium, and in that auditorium he started the story. He didn't explain, he acted out all the whole story, he acted out all the characters, right? That created an impact, that showed this guy is so much passionate. And the way he acted out each and every character, if you watch that Snow White and Seven Dwarfs, each dwarf is different. He thought about each and every character and he made it funny. It's a mono acting, the whole character is, he was a very good actor, right? This spoke directly to the emotional mind, and the team, team loved the idea. All the members, they had to work dedicatedly, right? If they don't work with the dedication, you cannot make a movie successful, right? Because of the way this guy acted out all the scenarios, everybody, loved that idea and believed in the concept. They all worked very hard, dedicatedly, and the movie became success, right? So because his idea spoke to the emotional mind instead of now just telling all those things. So design thinking, that is the one advantage. Whatever solution you think of, you will not just go and talk to the rational mind. You start targeting an emotional mind. It could be through your senses. Okay. And for prototyping, even if you watch movies and all, there is whenever in the movies they have to present some ideas, they won't talk about that idea. They visually represent. This is the Walk movie. Most of you might have seen. The Walk movie is a very good movie. Here, Philippe Petit, he is a rope walker. He wanted to walk, between the Twin Towers, 9/11 Twin Towers, right? The Twin Towers, he did that in 1970s, right? He tied a rope between the Twin Towers. He walked it without any safety net or anything, right? He wanted to do that, and he wanted people support to get that. He had to carry some of the equipments to the tower. He need to convince a lot of people, right? So first he needed to convince a girlfriend about his idea. Instead of telling, I will walk, I have to tie the rope between the two towers and I will walk, that explains, right? But instead of that, his idea, if you see in the image, in the hotel when he meets that his girlfriend, he explains how he explains. He puts two bottles which is already there, right? He ties a rope and he takes a tissue paper and folds like a human and then puts a straw, right? So that is what designers do. Designers know, we think a prototype means we have to make our idea, we need to make a complex prototypes, we need to 3D print, all those things are not time consuming, consumes money. That is not. You can explain easily your idea through simple prototypes. You don't need to make a costly prototypes, right? This took what, 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes. Take a rope, tie two bottles, fold it and do it, right? That is what designers, when they go, right, we take some tissue paper, we fold it and we show. This is all the concept. That creates a big impression, right? It shows you are serious instead of just explaining words. In another concept, in another scene, the same movie, the Walk movie, Philippe Petit will try to explain to the people who are working. Some people are working in that Twin Towers, right? He needs their help to take some of the items to the terrace, right? So to explain them, if you see again the same idea, instead of explaining in words, you can see two bowls of rice, right? In that bowls, he put two chopsticks and then he tied a rope. He took a tissue paper, that is a tissue paper, and he folded it like a human and kept it there. That is how we explained the concept, right? It's a very simple way to make a prototype. And similarly, if you see, we have made a prototypes. These are from net. Right side, if you see this prototypes, this is a operation in operation theater. One doctor had an idea. He wanted a product like some kind of gun. Immediately, what happened? One designer took a marker, one film canister, one clip, and he put a tape and showed. That's it. That idea. Oh yeah, this is how I want. Right. This is a. And similarly, left side is a thermocol. You just cut a thermocol, put a paper, whatever screens, the screen inside the prototype, you just paste it, sketch it, and put it and check, right? These are all simple prototypes. These are all foam models, thermocol models, wooden models, which won't take much time. We make it. And similarly, prototyping could be acting out also. Like we saw Walt Disney, how he acted out the scene. In Up in the Air movie, if you see, there are several examples, right? In that girl in that picture next to George Clooney. Suddenly she will come with the idea, we can fire people through tab itself, through online, rather than going and meeting people directly and firing over online, we can fire. But George Clooney, who has spent a lot of time with the customers, people, his job was to fire people, right? The companies hire George Clooney and his team to fire people. Instead of a company directly firing people, they use these people, right? So the people at the firing, no, at the time of firing people, they are in the emotional state. So you need to find a way to solve that. You have to give some solution also for them. So that is the movie is about. So George Clooney will be against idea. You don't know about the customers. So firing over a tablet is not a good idea. Online is not a good idea. But the girl will not listen. So okay, now imagine that they will be sitting across the table. But he will tell, imagine that you are going to fire me. You are online now. I'm seeing you inside the computer. Imagine like that. Now let's fire. So he will act like two customers, two type of different customers, right? A different character. One customer is a soft, very type. Another is aggressive type of customer. He'll act out, right? In both the situations, how firing online, somebody over the computer gets the company into trouble, he will act out, right? So it is a different type of prototyping. It's not a prototype where you have to make a physical prototype, right? No need for software, no need for hardware. Just you act out the scenarios. Immediately you get a problem with the concept. Your idea, online idea, firing idea will not work. He will show in that movie. So that is out. So when we make a prototype, what we do, any product prototypes or app you made prototypes, what happened? We give it to the customers and we observe, right? From a distance, we observe through the video or something, how the customers are finding it. If they are finding it difficult to use the product or understand the application, that means your design is very bad, right? When we go to some washrooms, we don't know which side we have to rotate the tap, whether I have to pull it up or rotate right or left, that means it's a poor design. It's never a problem with the user, right? The designer has made it very poor. Similarly, when we go to some shops, they have to write to push and pull. That means it's a bad design. The design should be intuitive. Whatever it is now, I should understand what it is. Whatever solutions you make, you don't need manual. You don't need anything to explain to them, right? It should be easy. That is what the strength of your problem solving skill. So here what happens, we won't tell customer whatever it is, what is the function. We just give it to them. We allow them to take it to the home and use it through. We observe them from a distance and see where they are struggling, where they have to think, right? So we have a concept. If you make a customer to think, because most of us naturally know we don't want cognitive load. We are against cognitive load, right? It's by nature. So anything makes us to think, we'll stop using that product, right? So here we go through the process. Whether customers had to take some few seconds to think, that means there is an issue with the design that area. So this is how focus group testing we do. Testing is a critical part to make your product very good. Product or solution, whatever it is, you could come with a lot of solutions, but whatever solution, some limited number of customers, you give it to them, test it, get a feedback, iterate your product or surveys, whatever the problem solution you have, and solve it. The next thing is telling stories. Again, telling a story talks to your emotional mind, right? So design thinking stresses on storytelling, right? So even about you, we generally go and talk in an interview. We say, my name is Shah. I have studied this. I come from here. All these things. This is not a story. This won't make it interesting, right? There is one movie, Amistad. One movie is there. In that movie, there is a guy who fights for this. He fights for a slave against abolishing slave trading, right? So whenever you ask him what is your story, he just say, my name is this, I'm coming from this place. No, but one guy will tell him, that is not your story. Your story, how will you tell your story? You tell a story, I am from African, I struggled my life in this one, in the slave trade, I was like a slave, this one. Now I am trying to abolish this slave and save a lot of people. That is how you have to tell a story, right? Even a product, when we try to sell a product, what happens, For example, there is a Febreze brand, right? Febreze brand, when they came to the market, they never said Febreze brand will remove the orders, your bad orders in home, dress, or anything. They told a story. They told a story about a park ranger whose job is to catch a skunk. Skunk. What happens is that animal sprays gas all over you. It smells very bad, right? So whenever that lady goes to the home or meets a friends, nobody comes near to her because she smells that skunk. So what happened is she could not get married. She could not date anybody. She wanted to. Her love life was in a mess because she was smelling skunk. Right. Whenever even if she goes on a date, finally, after putting perfumes, everything, when she brings the date to her home, the home will smell skunk completely. The screen, everything. So she was struggling. It is her story, right? She was struggling. She was not able to get married because of a job. Now Febreze, one day she finds a Febreze when she sprays everywhere, the curtains, home, bed, on over her, she no longer could smell the gas, skunk thing, right? So that was a big advantage. So what happened then when she went on to date, next time the date was happy because he could not smell any skunk. Then when he came home, he was comfortable. Finally, she got married. So that is the story, right? You tell anything through a story. The product benefits, you tell a story about you. When you go to an interview, you talk about a story. This is one example in 1980s. Pixar, the what you see in the screen. Pixar in the 1980s was before making a movies. They were selling a software, right? 3D modeling software. So there was a competition called, there was a conference called SIGGRAPH. Like a Pixar, several companies will come and show their 3D modeling abilities of their software. So that time, most of the companies, what they will do is they will make some character and show the rotate 3D rotation. They'll do 360-degree rotation. They'll show, right. Otherwise, they'll make a text and flying text or something just to show the features in that software, whatever they do, right. Generally, like that they do, right. So that time, Pixar has hired John Lasseter. John Lasseter, you might know that who made Toy Story 1, 2, 3. No, good director. That time he was just joined Pixar. Actually, John Lasseter had this idea. He told the story in Disney. Initially, first thing he joined in Disney only, but Disney didn't like any of his ideas. They threw him out. Oh, you are terrible. So that guy came and joined a Pixar. He made the story which he told is almost similar to Toy Story, and Toy Story became a big hit. So here he just recently joined. So what happened? He told instead of just showing this is a Android character, they show forest scenery and Android character. That is what they wanted to show Pixar, because they want to show they can make a model a 3D of a forest in their computer software. They can model a character in that story. That is what they wanted to show. John Lasseter told, okay, this is what only 30 second story, the 30 seconds only they can show, right? In 30 seconds, what can you tell? But John Lasseter told, okay, now you have a scenery where now forest scenery and this Android is opening his eyes. That is the only thing they are animating. Android told, this John Lasseter told, okay, now when Android is opening its eyes, let's show some shock. The Android is shocked, right? The first scene itself, they show a natural scenery and Android opening their eyes. It is shocked. Now it arouses curiosity in people. Why it is shocked? The next scene they show in front of the eyes, there is a bee, bumbling bee, right? Now that bumbling bee, oh, what it is going to do? People are now curious. The bumbling bee just pricks the Android and flies, right? Now that Android start chasing the bumbling bee to catch. Now there is a tension in the story. It's just 30 seconds only. It told the story, right? There is a competition. There is a fight between the bumbling bee Android within the 30 seconds. That's it. There is a first scene. There is a curiosity. It told a story now. There is a story now. There is a tension down, right? Same 30 seconds. Not like any other softwares. This software, people all loved it. This story, people could remember when they went, this one they could tell to others. That is how the Pixar started becoming famous. Even in a small 30 seconds, he could do everything. So next, the last session, innovation mindset. So design thinkers are innovative, the designers are innovative. There are reasons why they are innovative. The first thing is you also want to develop an innovation mindset. These are the certain things you need to follow in the life. Then you start developing your creativity skills or innovative skills, right? The first thing is question defaults. So there is an example, there is a research. Call center people, some of the call center people, they leave job immediately. They don't show interest in the job. Whereas some people work really well. They are very happy, and they also convert a lot of customers into loyal customers. So they are doing very good. So a research team try to find out what are the reasons behind some people are staying in the job and making it happy and they are doing really well. Some people are not finding it interesting. What are the reasons behind that? Then they saw one crucial difference was there. The very simple difference. The people who are staying there, they are using Chrome in their Chrome web browser. The people who left a job, they were using an Internet Explorer. It's a very basic idea. Why Internet Explorer or a Chrome makes a difference, right? The difference is the default. Internet Explorer is the default in the default browser in the operating system. People who used, the default, they never tried anything extra. They just whatever is there, okay, we have to use with that only. They never explained, right? So there is a script to follow talking to the customer. They just followed the script. They never tried anything. The customer calls, oh, okay, according to the script, they'll reply. Nothing else. They never tried anything else. They never questioned anything. Whereas people are using Chrome, they saw Internet Explorer is not good. Why should I use? Is there anything else? They questioned the default. Whatever the default is there, they questioned it. So it's not just this and just example I'm telling. There are many things in life you need to question it. When you question, there might be a better option exist. You have to ask whether a better option exists. Why this have to follow? So the guys who downloaded, who questioned that Internet Explorer, they saw better option exist. They downloaded Chrome. They followed the same procedure in other things also. Instead of script, they got a script. They also got a script. What should you do? They saw this script sometimes doesn't apply. Some customer are different, right? Why should they follow the same script? They started modifying the script. Some customers question that we try to solve a problem, right? They have something. They changed the script according to the customer. They saw what customer wants to know. Sometimes they went beyond the script and helped them. So the same approach they followed. They started questioning defaults. So because of that, they started developing their own script. The customers became happy. They also enjoyed their work because when the customer is happy, they feel that enjoyment. The results started improving. They got incentives. The things are good, right? So that is what the question defaults in your life, in your work, wherever you go, you have to start questioning a lot of defaults. Then there is a growth mindset. Growth mindset. There is a book. Right, Forrest Gump movie, I think it came in the 90s, right? Most of you might have seen. In that movie, that guy is like, his IQ is very limited. But what happens when he goes to the college, he starts running, he likes running, he loves running, he started winning competitions because he was focused on that. He never knew that he cannot achieve that, right? He thought with the practice, with a lot of deliberate practice, with a lot of perseverance, he could achieve that, right? He achieved that running. Later, he sees football. Later in the college, he likes football. He starts playing football. He is a bit low IQ guy, so there's nobody told them that he cannot achieve that. He never knew that he could not achieve that. That thought itself never came. He thought he start trying, spend hours. He keeps improving himself every day. What happens? He achieves that. He becomes a football player. He really plays well. And after that, because of that, he got into army. Right, in the army, he goes to the Vietnam. In one place, what happens? There's an ambush. The opponent enemy army attacks, right? And his team got completely attacked, and he saves everyone, right? Except his friend and other people. He saves everyone, right? And then he gets an award, and then people are surprised. This guy got an award, bravery award for that. And then after that, he starts a business, and in business also he succeeds, right? So growth mindset is a one where you have to think your skills, abilities, intelligence are not fixed or carved in on a stone. You have to think it all has a potential to grow, right? Only thing, some of the skills that you need some thousands of hours. As long as you keep improving, you preserve, you do a deliberate practice, the chances are you could develop that skill. That thought process has to come. That is the growth mindset. Similarly, ideas. When you get ideas, the Toy Story idea, if you see the initial idea, talking toys, people saw, oh, this is a crazy, terrible idea. Who will watch this movie, right? Uh, but the idea took time, right? Some kind of polishing, tweaking the story, the emotion, the tension. It didn't happen in first day, but then so many people worked together, iterated. Finally, the movie became a like big hit. But when they found the story director and the story, the building team, they are saying initially when you say saw that idea would have looked pathetic, and nobody would have told that I am talking toys will become a hit. Similarly, Ratatouille movie you might have seen. A rat is a disgusting thing. Most of the people say, hey, it's a disgusting, but a rat as a chef, it is one of the craziest ideas. Initially, if as people saw that idea pathetic, they would have told this idea will not, nobody will watch it. Definitely they will not watch it. But you know that movie became a hit, right? They polished it. It took a lot of iterations of that idea to reach that stage, right? Otherwise it would have become a flop. So that is the growth mindset, right? Any idea, with the amount of time you spend, time you are preserve it for some time, you keep iterating, with grittiness, it might change into a very good idea, very potential idea. That is the growth mindset in the idea wise. And as I said, we generate a lot of ideas. Designers generate a lot of ideas. We talk about Shakespeare's, 5, 6 plays only. We talk about Shakespeare's, but Shakespeare has made hundreds of plays, hundreds of stories he made. But those things, most of us never heard. Only when you make so much out of that, 4, 5 will become a hit, right? Similarly, paintings and all, the painter, uh, a lot of painters, this Picasso has made thousands of sculptures, thousands of paintings, a lot of artwork. We talk about 10 to 20 artworks only, right? Out of 3,000, 4,000 works, we are just talking about 1,000. Similarly, there was 50 classical music, best 50 classical music in the last 200, 300 years. One research organization made a list. Out of that, 5 was by Bach, 5 Beethoven, and 5 by another person. I forgot his name, right? So if you see Bach, he made almost 600 to 700,000 pieces, almost 1,000 pieces of music he made. Out of that, only 5 became a very famous classic. And similarly, Beethoven also made thousands of plays, music, songs. Only 5, got placed in that this one. 5 are very good. So your success depends. The way you generate your ideas, success depends how the volume of ideas you generate, right? When you generate a lot of volume, some of the things will become hit, really big, become hits. The solutions also, when you make, you can establish your name. Even Leonardo da Vinci, he made several things, thousands of things, right? But only few we talk about it. That's another thing. So another thing is broaden your knowledge, right? We like, we try to talk, become a T-shaped knowledgeable person. Uh, good amount of knowledge in several fields, but in one field you will have a deeper knowledge, right? So when I'm designing a product, it is not that, no, I should also know business strategy, I should know running a company, I should know little bit of PCB knowledge, a lot of other knowledges I need, right? Your creativity depends when your ideas are synthesis of knowledge from other fields. That is how you create a good this one. So instead of just focusing on only one field, what happens? Your ideas also become narrow-minded. You won't get your idea. Most of the ideas, if you see, the successful ideas have got inputs from different other fields. Actually, that is how you come out with the innovation, complete innovation, right? So you need to broaden your knowledge. One field you have a deeper knowledge, but in other fields you need to have some amount of good knowledge. You need to read a lot of books, watch videos, so that your knowledge base is really high. And then strategic procrastination. Most of you would have heard it. Procrastination is very bad, this that you should not do. But in creativity, you want to be creative, you need to procrastinate some of your work. How to procrastinate? Today I generate some ideas, right, for my problem. For 5 ideas I would have generated immediately, whatever I got in my mind I generate, then I leave it for 2 3 days or 2 weeks. So what happens when you don't complete your work? What happens that work will be on your back of your mind, oh, something or the other. It keeps your mind unconsciously will keep on thinking. Next, after 5 days 6 days, you come back, you will get some more ideas. Then again you put it, and then you go back, and then again, no, you keep doing some other work or anything on the back of your mind, still it will be working. So that is how your idea, your solution keeps on getting better. Whatever solution you thought, also that solution will keep on getting better. Leonardo da Vinci almost took 15 to 20 years to make a Mona Lisa. Even the other Last Supper, it took 20 years, because he will sketch and go, he will take some time. That is how it became a masterpiece. Of course we cannot take 20 years or something, but generally as a designers, what we do, we take a 4 to 5 weeks for generating ideas for a client. Client says, no, you can generate in 2 days. Why we take a 4 to 5 weeks? The reason is, the first week we make some ideas, we leave it as it is and go. After 2 3 days we come back, we again solve the problem. The idea gets shiny, the idea gets much more tweaking. So strategic procrastination is another thing. And next is art as a serious hobby. Most of us are not at all artists. While we studied, I never had any art as a serious hobby. Maybe the music, I could be a musician on the side, a hobby, or an artist, or some sculpture. Nothing I did, right? But there is a recent research. One research they did from 1900s to 2015 or 18. They took a list of Nobel laureates, right? Nobel science, Nobel physics, Nobel laureates, and other other people, other scientists who never got the Nobel award, right? Nobel Prize. So the main difference between these two people, they saw over the 120 years, all these Nobel laureates had something, some art as a serious hobby. They were some of them were artists, some of the painters, some musicians, some are sculptors. Even Einstein, if you take, he was a very good musician. Wherever he went, he took his violin with him, right? In the functions, in parties, he used to do. If he was not a scientist, he would have become a musician. He was so much passionate about music. Whenever he gets stuck and he was not getting an idea to relax, he will take a violin and come and do that, right? Maybe that artist, when you play some art to do something, your mind, this neural circuit changes, something happens, and then you get some ideas. So all of us, if you haven't done anything till this time, you now itself you start doing your serious hobby. It's a serious practice. You have to do some kind of art. It could be a paint, it could be a sculpture, it could be anything. When you do that, all these things will help you to be innovative and creative. So with that, I'll just finish it. And thanks for your time, and thank you for everything. Hope it's useful to you.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful session. It was really very interesting.
Yeah.
And I would like to thank our Principal T. Kalpalata Reddy ma'am, Principal SVEC, for organizing this wonderful event. Thank you guys for joining us. Apart from those who have joined in this session, it was projected in the seminar hall for second year students for about 300 plus students, sir.
Oh, thanks, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. I can log out now?
Yes, sir, you can log out. And
Yeah.
guys, this is Neha Kramin from 2nd ECB signing